Shabbat Shalom. And happy almost Hanukkah. It was very fun this week to have our, what do we call it? Our pre-Hanukkah celebration. And as we wish the Rotmans Mazel Tov, thank you for helping light up this morning. I'll be making other bad puns, so just get ready. So I'm going to give a sermon about Mayor Scherer, our wonderful director of congregational learning. And I'm going to embarrass him just a little bit. But if you don't know, Mayor has set the pace for fashion at Temple Emunah now for almost 10 years. Almost every single day he comes to work, not only with his signature smile, but also with a different shirt or sweater. And I look, and occasionally, I'm like, what is that? No, I'm like, that looks great. And I always think it's just like David Rose from Schitt's Creek. And I hope you feel honored by that comparison. By far one of the sweetest characters and sweetest and best sitcoms of all time. On Hanukkah is really where you pull out all the stops. And those of you who've been around Mayor on Hanukkah, every single day he comes with a different sweater. Some of them light up. Some of them have jokes. Some of them have firecrackers. We asked you not to light them in shul. Just kidding. And they bring a sense of joy. My favorite one is the llama one, Happy Lamaka. Whoever came up with that bad pun, I don't know what was happening, but I would be lying if I didn't admit that I also wanted really to get into this. And so several years ago, I had to go out and actually purchase my own Hanukkah suit, which I was tempted to wear, but I decided it's a little too much for the bar mitzvah. But if you've come to our Hanukkah celebrations, you'll see it, and we have the same one, so it feels very special. Now this year, it's from Tipsy Elves, if you want to know. It's $39. I don't get a commission, but in any case, I do try to give it to as many people as possible so they can use it, including my cousin Oren. Thank you, Amram. So this year I was scrolling through my phone around Thanksgiving, and of course the phone always knows what you're thinking about and what you want, even before you realize it. And so it shows me these cool Hanukkah shirts. I'm like, yeah, I'd like a Hanukkah shirt. And so I order one from a place called Comfy Boutiques. And I'm saying them because I don't recommend them, because immediately the 20% sale that they gave me by entering in my cell phone so I could get unlimited spam messages from them was not taken off my order. 2 hours later, after negotiating with some people who didn't speak English, I was finally able to get my $20 back. And then, apparently, they're an Italian company that makes their clothing in China but sends it through India on its way to somewhere else. And so because of that, my shirts have spent more times in customs than I have on vacations. And in any case, the good news is my shirt is coming and will definitely be here by Hanukkah in 2026. Now, underneath all of this is a clear goal. We're trying to not only make our tradition come alive, but we're trying to make it fun for all ages. We are trying to make it joyful, which is our basic commandment about the holidays. The Torah says this, V'samachta b'chagecha, v'ayita ach sameach for Sukkot, right? It says you should be totally joyful in your holidays and try to be filled with this sense of happiness. So from Hanukkah socks to blow up dinosaurs with kippot and dreidels on them. Yes, Mayor and Kfir, Meir and his husband Kfir have that one on their porch. It's cute. You can see it from 93. Okay. So try to take a drive on Hanukkah, fulfilling the mitzvah of Pirsumei Nisa, of publicizing the miracle. Now, clothing have never, and decorations for that matter, have never really been my big thing, but I can see how they create energy, and they can subtly shift and create a moment in various different ways. Like I feel it when I put on my black suit for funerals, I immediately enter that space that I know what I'm doing and I know what I am about to be a part of. And similarly, when I put on my Spider-Man costume, I know that it's either the Shema pajama party for the preschool, or it's Purim, or I'm just feeling a little weird that day. But whatever it is, I'm now in the moment. Now, this week we see clothing used for a very different purpose right off the bat of this parsha. It's a bit problematic. Jacob gives his son Joseph the famous Ketonet Pasim, this, as Andrew Lloyd Webber called it, a multi-colored coat. It's actually a little bit interesting. The word pas, right, has a number of meanings. Many of us think about it as colors or stripes, and that's where you get the coat that has all these colored stripes. But pas, when I looked it up in one of the more kind of ancient origins of the word, actually means the sole of your foot. So the coat actually went down all the way to his feet, which was considered like incredibly powerful and significant. So however you want to understand it, colorful, striped, very long coat, right? He's being given this coat of great significance. And it's clear that the brothers who already know that Joseph is favored and that Joseph is the apple of his father's eye, now it's really stuck in their faces with this coat. In case you are a new parent, I don't know, not a good parenting technique to give one child all of the love and stuff. But I try to find a reason to give everyone the chafschut, to give them the benefit of the doubt. Jacob had just, if you look back, endured a very sad loss. His wife, Rachel, died just in the last few verses of last week's parsha. And so maybe he's still kind of mourning over that. Doesn't really excuse his behavior. So I want to look at this bad pun thread that weaves itself right through the parsha, which is how do we create cultures of compassion, and how subtle things we do can actually change the entire atmosphere or a moment. And I think it's right. It's, wearing this wacky clothing on Hanukkah or doing something else can actually change an entire atmosphere that you're entering into. So let's think even before the coat is given. What does the Torah say? Vayeishev et dibatam ra'a el avihem. Joseph is already bringing bad reports about his brother. He's tattling on them. Whatever they did something wrong. We know this word dibah is a kind of like whispering, which is like not going to be the best thing when you start whispering about someone. Dibah, whispering an evil report, usually one that defames someone else. You can imagine Joseph going up to his dad, Abba, I don't want to say anything, but, I saw Shimon and Levi and it wasn't good. How many times have we sometimes done this? I'm ashamed that I certainly have. It's not nice. Rashi jumps on this and says, kind of what comes around goes around. He has Joseph say that his brothers are doing such bad behavior that he calls them, they're like slaves, to degrade them. And sure enough, Rashi points out that by the end of the parsha, Joseph will become enslaved. And so we see these subtle words have power and that they have action. course, that's a lesson that Jews, sadly, tragically, have learned throughout our history. Hateful words lead to hateful actions, even when they're just small slights. And then the Torah is right on cue with the brothers' feelings, and they're feeling sad. The Torah says that they're unable, this is a really interesting phrase, they're unable to say anything good about their brothers. I don't know if you remember the phrase, Velo yachlu dobro l'shalom, right? That they can't literally speak any peace to them. A really fascinating phrase. They can't speak to him in peace. They can't, even bring them towards peace. They were unable to have their words lead them towards anything good. Now, it foreshadows what's going to happen, because what are they going to do with their brother? They are going to throw him in a pit to die later in the Parashat, until they change their minds and sell him off into slavery. Now, this phrase, Davro l'shalom, is a really interesting one. It's one that I've shared before, right? That there are two ways of saying goodbye in Hebrew. Well, maybe three. The one you all know that's easy, shalom, goodbye. Or maybe four, litraot, that's another one, modern Hebrew. But in the biblical understanding, there's two phrases, lech l'shalom or lech b'shalom. They sound very similarly, right? Go in peace or go to peace. Almost the same. The Talmud says that lech b'shalom is go to peace, meaning go to a place of peace, your final resting place, as we say in the phrase, right? May you rest in peace. And then they say lech l'shalom, go in essence with peace, to and with peace. That's how you're supposed to say goodbye to someone, right? That becomes the way that you are sending someone with a sense of blessing and with peace and with kindness on their journey. We use that distinction. It's subtle, but maybe you've seen it in the emails we send out, right? When it's a funeral, a death, we say at the end of the email, Bishalom, right? In peace. And when we send out an email announcing the birth of a baby, a wedding, an engagement, we say Lishalom, right? Going with peace. Now here in the Joseph narrative, we can see that the brothers cannot send him off in that way. They cannot say Lech l'shalom. They're unable even to send him off with a simple word of peace. Now this subtle, if you will, framing is in that word davar, right? Davar, a word, it appears in a different context a little bit later, but I think is also about how we create cultures of compassion. Here, right, Joseph shares his dream about his family all bowing down to him. Also, not a recommended way to ingratiate yourself to anyone. Nonetheless, it says about Joseph, the aviv shamar et hadavar. Right here, it's his father kept the davar, kept the word, kept the matter in mind, as our translation has it. And the question is, what's going on here? In this case, Jacob doesn't share what he's feeling. He doesn't act on it enough. And sure enough, he sends Joseph out to meet his brothers where they almost kill him. And so we see not only can words be destructive, and even subtle words and nuances can be, but sometimes it can be harmful if you don't share some words that can potentially lead to disaster. Perhaps Jacob should have shared more to protect Joseph and to make sure that his other sons didn't act against him. Now, of course, words can do the opposite, right? We can create a positive culture in very subtle ways. I see this at the beginning and the end of the Parsha. Two little moments. One is Jacob calls Joseph over to him to send him to find his brothers. What does Joseph say? Hineni. Right? I'm here. I'm ready to respond to you. He says to his Abba, to his father, I am here. And it's that very subtle message of being fully present. We know this word appears all throughout our biblical text as a word of being totally ready to listen to someone, to respond to their needs. And so that indicates a kind of real way you can create a culture. Hineni, I'm here for you. Let me hear where you are and what you need. And then we see it at the end of the Parsha. Joseph is now in prison. He's been enslaved. He's been thrown in the prison, right? And as was read so beautifully, right, the cupbearer and the baker are there with their dreams, and he sees that they're troubled. And he says to them specifically, right, why are you so distraught? A simple phrase, what's going on? What are you feeling? I'm noticing something. And then he says, Siprunali, please tell me what's going on with you. Tell me about your dreams. I'm ready to listen. Different words create different cultures. The words that we use create our community's culture, as we see in the Parashat. The culture can be created through words. It can be created through how we listen, how we approach people, and it can even be created by how we dress. Let us all create a culture of compassion and kindness through our words, our listening, and even our clothing. Shabbat Shalom.